Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome, audience. Today we have a very important topic to discuss, which is about Afghanistan. And Brigadier Hadi is our host, and he will shed a very extensive light on Afghanistan. Brigadier Hadi, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. We are going to talk about Afghanistan. You know the importance of Afghanistan. It's a small country. From surrounding point of view, it may be very insignificant. But as far as the world is concerned, it has a lot of importance. The peace which is there in Afghanistan, the peace process which is going on, everybody in the whole world is focused on it, and they are waiting as to what is going to be the final outcome. So that is the importance of Afghanistan.
We are actually, Brigadier Hadi, as I introduced you, I would like to introduce to audience myself. This is AJMAL Khan Yusufzai. I am the anchor and host to get very important information from our great expert, Brigadier Hadi, about the perspectives of Afghanistan.
Yeah. I think just for the audience sake, if we just introduce Afghanistan, geographically, I think that will be just to put it in focus. Afghanistan, although a small country, its total area is about a little over 6 lakhs square miles. It is a special country that it is linked with many, neighbors. Normally, people have 3-4 neighbors like Pakistan has, but as far as Afghanistan is concerned, on the west is Iran, a very big power. In the north, there are 3 countries of the Soviet Union: Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. There's also a small portion which is attached with China. So China, although it's only 70 miles, but China is also one of the neighbor. And then the major neighbor, which is Pakistan, which has the longest border, or you can say the Durand line with so from that point of view, its population is 35.5 million, यानी तकरीबन 3.5 करोड़ के करीब जो है ना. And one very strange thing is it has got 34 provinces. Small country, but 34 provinces, and each province means an independent setup, independent chief minister, governor, this, that. So it involves small bits and pieces. Also, about the languages, about 2 major languages, which is Pashto and Farsi, a Persian, and they have some smaller languages like Balochi, like there are Qazalbash also, there are Turkmanis, there are Uzbeks, Tajiks, so those languages are also spoken. Just the length of the border with Iran, it is about 585 miles. In the north, about 1,810 is only with Turkmenistan. China is only 70. With Pakistan, it has the largest border, which is about 1,510.
Brigadier Hadi, as far as I understand, are you saying that they have main ethnic groups in Afghanistan like Pashtun, Tajik, Uzbek, and Hazara?
Yeah.
And they speak, most of them, which majority is Pashtun, they speak Pashto.
Yeah.
Will you please tell to the audience that the Pashtun belt, it is close to Afghanistan, where they live, and where the Tajiks are, and where the Uzbeks are?
Yeah, generally, like close to Iran, towards the west, are, the Hazara speaking. Naturally, they are influenced by Iran.
Iran.
As far as Pakistan is concerned, this belt, Kandahar, and the lower, the Pashtun belt, this is, closer, Ningahar area. All this is closer to Pakistan, so the Pashto speaking. And towards the north, those, three countries which I mentioned, they are, the Uzbekistan, the Turkmenistan, and the Tajikistan. So they are speaking generally those languages. In between, they are mixed, Kabul and a little above are mostly, Persian-speaking people. So
It sounds like that all these ethnic groups who are living in Afghanistan, they are well connected by speaking Persian to communicate with each other.
yeah, Persian is one of the main language, Farsi, and of course, there's, and then is the Pathans are the Pashto speaking. So these are the two main factions, you can say. Others are in very small percentage. These are the two major groups, and unfortunately, they are always, daggers drawn with each other.
We will come to that point.
Okay.
Let's put it all this on perspective that these four main group, which is we are consider them Afghanistan. Would you please shed some light on their historical record of Afghanistan?
Very, very important, out of all these countries like India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even some of the other countries surrounding, Afghanistan is one of the oldest, civilization. It is. It's actually. It came into being in 1747. The name of the first ruler was Ahmad Khan. So 1747. Since then, it is here. If you want me to go into the historical perspective, this general area had three major empires, or you can say dynasty. One was the Persian Empire. It is as old as 720 AD. Then, there was the Qing dynasty, Qing. Qing dynasty, the initial portion somewhere in 13th, 14th century was the Yuan dynasty, and then 1800 to 1900 was the actual Qing dynasty, which is now the current China. And the third is the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire is the current, Turkey. So these are they were somewhere in 1300 to 1600. In fact, Ottoman Empire had the longest stay there, about 400 years. So these three, big empires or dynasties, they are culturally, they make the Afghanistan, and Afghanistan has always been influenced by these forces. But then what happened, that somewhere 1829 or 39, probably one of these years, the Russians, they fought with these empires, and, they defeated them. And from there, Russia came into the picture like a superpower. And they started influencing, this area.
Like invader.
Yeah, not really invaders, but I mean the Russians took over the whole area. The others went onto the background, and simultaneously, in the 17th century, the Britain, it came into picture. When they started the British India Company, they came to India, and they started showing their influence, and So
that was the time the superpower tussle confrontation started.
Absolutely correct. The previous history was taken aback. It went into the background. But the two forces, Russians and the British, they started, dominating the area. And what was their interest? The Russians, they wanted to reach the hot water. And as far as Britain was concerned, it was using Afghanistan as a buffer between their desire. So they were opposing them, and that's why if you see the history, starting from somewhere from 1892 to up to 1908, there were three Afghan-British wars, British-Afghan wars, three wars. Every time they would come, they would, capture the area and then they would voluntarily vacate. But they would not allow the Russians to dominate this area.
So, Brigadier Hadi, are you saying that these superpower, when they started to each other about Afghanistan, so they started it because of their own personal benefits, interest?
Absolutely. Their personal, their national interest, they were both trying to grab Afghanistan for their personal gains, but their aims were different. I mean, Russians wanted to reach the hot water, whereas British were not allowing them. And that was the time, when this whole area, including now the Pakistan and India, this was a main scene, like before that, somewhere in 327 BC, Sikandar-e-Azam, had come here, and this was the path, he came via the Khyber Pass, and he had, captured area right up to the central Pakistan. So it's a historical event that he even visited Afghanistan. But when we are talking about 100, 200 years ago, it was basically, Britain and the Russians, the tussle. But then, there was a period, Ajmal Khan, that was the period, let's say, 1914 to 1919, when the First World War started. These things, these tussles, they went into a little background. But then after that, again, there's a long, list of, Sikh invasion here. The Sikhs came here. There was a. We
will come to that point, but I will like to about the political history of Afghanistan, which is till 1979.
Yeah.
After that, we're gonna start that. What is the history of Afghanistan?
Okay.
Political history.
So, I mean, you're right that there's a long list. After that, the Ghaznavis and the Ghoris and the Mongols and the Mughal, all that history was here. Mahmud Ghaznavi started from
Exactly.
Afghanistan in 1000 BC AD, and he went and captured areas, Somnath, etc. in India. Anyway, so this tussle was going on right up to the end of the last century, and the events kept on going up to 1979. Now, what happened that about 40 years before 1979, there was the period of Zahir Shah. Now, that was a very peaceful time, Afghanistan was flourishing, there was a lot of peace, there was, used to have a lot of festivals, there were no wars, nothing, very, very peaceful Afghanistan in a way. But he was, he was replaced by his uncle Dawood, and Zahir Shah left the country, and he almost left permanently, So Dawood took over, and when this 1979 came, two things happened. Number one, Shah of Iran, he was dethroned. He had also 40 years of a very magnanimous period in Iran. So he was thrown away. And here in Afghanistan, a real trouble started. From 1970, Russians were taking interest, but then they came out openly in 1979 and they invaded, they sort of captured Afghanistan. And this initiated a chess game, a very interesting game in which the victims were the poor presidents of Afghanistan. Can you imagine a country that within 3-4 years, 4 to 5 presidents are killed one by one? Dawood, he was, Dawood Khan was killed by Tarakai. Not only he killed him, but he dethroned him, he killed him, and he killed his complete family. His sons, his wife, all, they were brutally murdered. So Dawood was thrown out. Tarakai was taken over by another person, Hafizullah. He threw him out and he killed him. Hafizullah came, Babrak Karmal, he killed Hafizullah Amin, and he took over. And then the last murder was by Najibullah. He came and he killed, Babrak Karmal. And Najibullah, what happened to him? Then came, Talibans. And Talibans killed Najibullah. So 5 people, 5 presidents getting killed in a series of actions. So that was, I would say, the first period.
Brigadier Hadi, it seems like this is a very continuous setback in Afghanistan history, killing each other. It means head of the countries are killing each other. So it means whatever you can describe their setback, Afghanistan itself is responsible for their such a terrible history.
Absolutely, I agree with you, absolutely. But you cannot totally blame them for this. I mean, they are responsible, of course. They are, but it is always, the outside pressures, the outside interest, and then, it is coupled with, their poverty, their lack of system, their, weakness in their political system, and many other factors.
Let's discuss about this. Whatever you mentioned. Would you please start it from Iran?
Okay.
The relation of Iran to Afghanistan.
Absolutely. So I think it's very pertinent that we should, individually discuss the relations of Afghanistan with the neighboring countries. By the way, it may not be very pertinent here, but I have been so lucky, Ajmal Khan, that during my service, I have had chance to visit these countries physically. Like I have been to Iran long time back. I have been to, Uzbekistan, China, of course. I've served for some time inside Afghanistan, and I've visited all their major, cities like Kandahar, Jalalabad, Kabul,
To feed you back, that I have visited to Iran, and I remember when I used to go to the Uzbekistan of Tehran, which is university, and the small kids used to call me, "Ey agha, sahat chande."
So you're talking about Tehran. Tehran, yeah. So I've been to all those cities, Tehran, Mashhad, Zaidan, Qum, even Shiraz and all that. So, and then, from on the south of Afghanistan is, it's from Quetta, when you are going to Zaidan, you pass through this. And when I was the commander there, even as a unit officer, when I was commander, I had units in Khuzdar, Job, even Pashin, Chaman area. So I have a very good insight. And I've served on Tal border, near
It's near to go hard.
Yeah. So I used to hear these problems, since ages, since 20, 30 years. So you asked me about Iran. Iran is a very important neighbor. But as far as their relation is concerned, although in trade, they are helping Afghanistan, but they have always been on the receiving side. For example, the first problem is security. As you know that opium, Afghanistan is the opium grower. 90% opium comes from Afghanistan. It's the world's largest, opium producer. And most of this opium goes to the other countries through Iran. And it has been a very serious, security hazard, because they have always been cribbing about this. And would you believe it? They claim that there are 4,000 security people have lost their life while, fighting the drug traffickers in the same opium business. So they always, similarly, another bad thing which has happened to Iran is that 2.8 million people have become, opium addicts because of, when it is being smuggled, they have started using it. The second point is about the refugees. Just like Pakistan, they also got, when in 1979 happened, a lot of, those people on the belts, on the fringes of Afghanistan, they shifted to Iran, and they had to take the major brunt. And even since then, they are still there. And I was just going through the statistics. They claim that about 38 lakh Afghan children are still, studying in their schools. 38 lakh students. Similarly, people have got married there, they've got families, they've got purchased houses, they've got businesses. And but these Afghans who are there, bad for Afghanistan, that they are very low paid. And what they have done, Iran has done, they have created a division which is known as Fatimiyun division. So all are Afghanis there, and they have sent their division to Syria for fighting. So these Afghans who are there are not that happy, or I would say, or prosperous. They are after all struggling.
In other words, you are saying that this connection or relation between Afghanistan and Iran has some very serious minus impact.
Of course, and added to that is the water problem. Afghanistan is on a higher ground. There are mountains, there are, river, Anu River, etc. They are all flowing towards Iran. And so, in other words, the water is controlled by Afghanistan.
But I will say that whatever you mentioned between Afghanistan and Iran, both are accountable for their minus stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. You cannot blame. But I mean, that is the main reasons of tension, between these countries, that Iran, because of these 3-4 points, refugees, this, that.
Thank you, Brigadier Hadi.
Yes.
Now we will move to Russia and Afghanistan relation, which has very important and has also some kind of a history.
Before Russia, I'll just mention, China. That, China is not a very open type of a neighbor with Afghanistan. There is if you see the map of Afghanistan, it's like, a leaf with a stick, extending, and it's only a 70 miles area
Short
which
border.
is touching. Yeah, it's a very small body. And next to that is all mountains, it's not passable. So you cannot use that as a route for trade or something.
Right.
The China policy has been very simple. They have never involved or indulged into any military, sort of project. I mean, they do not believe in sending army. They do not support them in any way militarily. But recently, they've started helping Afghans as far as their reconstruction or as far as their economy is concerned, And lately, with Pakistan, there is a plan. I don't know.
CPAC.
They want to include them into CPAC, which is a $57 billion project. So maybe in the future we see that Afghanistan becomes a part of the CPAC, So as far as China is concerned, it is a sort of a helping hand to them, So you asked me about Russia.
Yes.
Russia has a bigger border, and ever since, if you see historically, they have always been, interested. But lately, they got a big stigma on their history. They had a bad name. They invaded. They brought upheaval into this whole area. But then when they withdrew, after that there has been peace and they have been good neighbors. But recently, they are trying to reassert themselves and trying to show interest, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. And the main...
Reorganize.
And the main evidence is their involvement in the peace talk. Although they don't like Taliban's, but, they are helping the peace talks between Taliban and US, and they are playing a good role there, So that is as far as And what do they want? They want actually peace on the border, you know. And as far as U.S. is concerned, you know, there's always some tension between these two superpowers. So they are playing very intelligently so that, you know, they don't get involved also. But, you know, if there's peace in Afghanistan, then it is to the advantage of everybody.
Great.
Yeah.
Now we will come to the very important relation between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And we will also, on some stage, connect, though India has no geographical relation or anything else, but we will connect India because India is some kind of a part of this in the latest situation.
Absolutely.
So we have to discuss it.
I agree with you. Thank you. I mean, you have brought it at the end. That is very correct. Because this relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and then as you said, you have to get involved India into it. Otherwise, you know, it's not just Pakistan and Afghanistan. When Pakistan crips, it involves, you know, India also. Similarly, when Afghanistan is, you know, doing something with India, it becomes a sort of a, you know, sore point for Pakistan. So I very much agree with you that this is not just Pakistan and Afghanistan, but it is this triangular sort of a relationship.
Connection, yeah.
Okay. As far as Pakistan is concerned, if you go into the history, and the history starts from 1947. Before that, somewhere, if I remember the year correctly, 1893, you know, when those Afghan-British wars were taking place, that was the time when British wanted that, you know, this Pashtun belt should not remain the same, so they introduced the Durand Line. Durand was a gentleman in the British Army, and his name was Durand. So he had negotiations with the one of the Amir. And in 1893, they put the Durand Line on ground. Okay. So ever since, Afghanistan, in a way, has been cribbing that, you know, the Pashtuns are extending up to Attock, and they are our people, and there should be a greater Pakhtunistan. So this Pakhtunistan was the basic root cause of tension between Pakistan and Afghanistan. But then, when Pakistan came into existence, the first 3-4 years, they were just seriously trying to undo this Durand Line. They didn't want it, and they were creating all sorts of problems for Pakistan. But then, luckily, between 1950 to 60, extending up to 1970, you know, there was a little better period. At the time of Ayub Khan, you know, the relations improved, and etc. But then came the upheaval of 1979, the refugees, the tension, and Pakistan and Afghanistan saw some very bad period, starting from 1970 to up to 1990. Tension, blaming, wars, and, you know, fringes, and all those, you know, bad thing. But then, you know, from 19, another problem came, and that was the problem of Taliban.
Brigadier Hadi, I will like to ask some very important question in this
Please.
Issue. Is relation between Pakistan and Afghanistan and India. Trying to understand it, the audience will also understand it. First, my question is that, Brigadier Hadi, we have a Pashtun ethnic group which is in Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Yes.
And due to the history decision, those Pashtun who live in Pakistan, they have decided to live in Pakistan.
Yes.
At the same time, the Afghan Pashtun decided to live there. But at the same time, we don't deny that there is no relation. There is relation. They are all Pashtun. But saying that, if you see the whole history and the border, so Pakistan and Afghanistan has a very unique relationship because of their blood, because of their religion, because of their tribe, and also tradition, all that stuff. They have that.
Yeah.
But you cannot match it with any country, neighbor country, with the other country, with the Afghanistan. Pakistan has great impact because of this Pashtun ethnicity. But saying that, at the same time, we have India too, which is involved in other way
Yeah.
through Kabul or some other ethnic groups are very close, little bit. So I think there is a lot of difference between the relation of India and Pakistan toward Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
So would you please
Yeah,
shed light?
absolutely. You see, you talked about this Pashtun belt in Pakhtunistan. I'll just sum it by saying that, Pashtuns in Peshawar, they don't want to go and live in Kabul or, or in Afghanistan. And
Here I will
So-
little bit stop you, as you said very good stuff. If they would have, they would have this ambition, or they were trying to wish for that. So I don't remember that anybody from our Pakhtun area, which is a huge area, it's like a KPK, it's a huge area, and they have very kind of a huge tribes like Yusuf Zai, Khatak,
yes.
Afridi.
Afridi, Shinwari, yeah.
So these pride were living there, and you are right. I have never heard that they have decided to, or they did try to wish for it that we want to go to settle in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other hand, from Afghanistan, million people, refugees in Pakistan, they live there.
Yeah.
So that is the root cause and reason to say that Pakistani Pashtuns are much more happy in their own
Yeah.
country.
It's actually not a question of going there, but I will use the word exploitation, some political exploitation, some vested people interest here, some people there, just trying to use this Pakhtunistan as a stunt, to politically gain advantage or to disturb, the stability and all that. So, and then it's also a question of, are the KPK people willing to take their name out of Pakistan and be called as part of Afghanistan? That is the question. So, no, I mean, we are happy here and they are happy there. So, but Pakhtun, if you say Pakhtunistan becomes a separate thing, I don't think anybody would be willing to agree to that.
Now we have to understand about the ground reality.
Yeah.
So that's why I explained the situation which they went through. Secondly, Brigadier Hadi, you are a experienced commander in Pakistan Army, have been. May I ask a question that the Pashtun community from KPK or Balochistan, they have a very important position and second majority in Pakistan Army, and they are working, they are doing their very important stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think so. When the Pakistan Army is so filled by the second majority of Pashtun, they would think like these kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that is out of the question. But luckily, to end this discussion, is that somewhere in the year 2000, this Pashtunistan problem has gone into the background. It is almost, you can say, it is finished. It is no more there. Nobody's talking about, greater Pashtunistan and all. But, actually there was that PDPA, the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, the Russian supported party. When they came, they created a lot of, trouble, and they lot of propaganda and a lot of mischief, So that was the time when there was a lot of tension. Now the situation is very simple. If you talk about India, India is doing all, reconstruction job. Their development, They've given $3 billion aid. They're making their roads. They've made about 200 schools. They've got 1,000, scholarships. There's 1,600 students are studying in India. They are doing a lot of, civil help type of jobs in Afghanistan, okay? And Afghanistan is depending and appreciating. As far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan has a more, I would say, specific military relationship with Afghanistan. It's not really a social type of. And Pakistan is blaming India to be interfering, coming all the way and, making, sort of cantonments and supporting their army or, the Taliban issue. Or the
Are you saying having no border
Yeah.
with Afghanistan? There is no border.
Yeah, and as far as India is concerned, they are, blaming Pakistan because they are potential adversaries. So they are blaming Pakistan and we are blaming them, whereas their roles or the participation or the relationship inside Afghanistan are slightly different.
Let us put it a little bit more realistic way, and I can accept whatever you said, that India is doing there, which is very good. Productive things are always appreciated, whatever they are doing. But keeping in view the political ground reality of Afghanistan, if they were given, if you mean public governments and they are allowed to have election, I don't think so India will be capable to stay there because their situation is different.
Yeah, but like there's always there is the Balochistan issue, so we always have suspicion that some outside forces are creating trouble in Balochistan, and the separatist movements and the BNP, etc. Anyway, so that was as far as the relations were concerned, and so these were the 4 or 5 countries I have talked about, each one of them.
Exactly, we discussed all of them. Now we will come to the Afghanistan inside itself, why it is, to be realistic, why it's so poor country.
Yeah. Actually,
and this is reality.
Yes. If you are poor, obviously you have a lot of problems. So we should accept that it is the poverty which is one of the main reasons that there is no peace there. But with poverty, it is basically the war, the war which is going on. And why there is war? Because of the external pressures and external interests of other countries. So it is because of that reason, that there is. Now let me give you a few points about why there is internal crisis. What is the situation on ground now because of the war? They say that about 1,200 people, more than 1,000, are leaving Afghanistan daily. 1,200 people on the average are migrating from Afghanistan outside. Number 2,
to go overseas.
To the other countries, abroad. About 10 civilians are dying on the average per day. 300 people, civilians, they are dying every month.
This is serious setback.
Okay. The third is, Afghanistan has a lot of refugees outside. They are in Pakistan, they are in Iran, Now these countries are pushing back whenever there's trouble, or they want to create trouble in Afghanistan, they push back the refugees. In the last 5 years, about 3 lakh Afghans have returned to Afghanistan. Now you imagine, you are living outside for 20 years, you return to your country, you need establishment, you need rehabilitation, you need a house, you need job. So those people who return, even the locals do not let them settle down, and there are a lot of
obstacles,
local displacements. A person comes to Kabul, he has to leave Kabul because he cannot settle down easily. Okay, the next point is that there is relief work, there is aid work, a lot of countries are doing. These relief workers, these aid workers are being attacked. They are not being allowed to, work peacefully.
Why? Why they are attacked?
Because, of interest, somebody doesn't want peace there, somebody, they have
Now here is
money.
a point
Yeah.
I can, due to my, based on my experience about Afghanistan,
Yeah,
there is a point that appear to be that in Afghanistan they have a lords and they have a specific area to control, not let anyone, even the government of Kabul, cannot interfere in that area
absolutely.
without the permission of the Lord.
Absolutely.
And that has been divided, I believe, on 30 lords,
Yeah.
which they have their own monopoly.
But on ground, the fact is that they need help, they need relief. But if the internal situation is not conducive, then that relief or that aid is just being wasted, Now, just to give you some figures, they say that 3.3 million people in Afghanistan are in distress. They are in trouble. About 1.9 million people, 20 lakh के करीब जो लोग हैं, they need food, Similarly, about 1.6 million, 16 lakh लोग जो है ना, they need health support, They are in trouble because they need, constant, health service. And about more than a million people, 10-11 lakh लोग जो हैं, they need water, they need sanitation help. They are living a miserable life. So because of these figures, you can imagine, and the total population is 35 million. Out of 35 million, more than million and a half are needing these facilities. So because of the poverty and because of lack of institutions, lack of organized government, lack of good governance, then this main problem of the warlords. So you mentioned earlier also, I 100% agree with you that there are threats to Afghanistan, but one of the main reason is Afghanistan itself, because they have got such a infrastructure, they have got such ethnic issues, they have got warlords, they have got barriers, they have got problems in different areas, and because of that, there is no peace there. So
on the other hand, you are saying that they all, from different ethnic, they don't get along with each other from the day Afghanistan existed.
yeah,
So that's their record. Second, are you saying that all the setback of Afghanistan is because of, I will describe it, that 50% from outside
yes,
other countries,
yes,
but 50% Afghanistan itself is responsible for its situation.
yeah. The reason is that there's a word quagmire. Quagmire means like एक वहाँ पे खिचड़ी पकी हुई है. It's a very confused situation, and the confused situation is because of one. First is Afghanistan is stuck in शिकंजे में फंसा हुआ है of the confusion, because there are so many forces, and to name some of them, one we said is the warlords. Second is the foreign interest. There is a history of Afghanistan that always people have come, invaders have come, they have tried to capture it, but historically so far nobody has ever been able to occupy that country. It is their history, because they keep fighting, and there are ethnic divide, there's poverty, there's law and order situation. The police is very weak, they've got a lack of training. Then there's the Taliban factor, which is very dominant, and the neighbors' interference. the foreign interest and the lack of women education. And the worst point is the political instability. I mean, they always recommend there should be political parties, they should have proper elections, there should be a good voting system, but there's none. They will lay a jarga, it comes, it gives a decision, but unless
Then back up.
Yeah, and then there's a very small point, but I consider it a very major point. The social fiber, there are so many social evils. Like, just to give you one example, a family is poor, but when they have a marriage of their son or a daughter, they spend like, they are the lords, like 500, 1,000, 2,000 people invited into the hotel on the day of marriage. It's a cultural compulsion, They say, what will the other say? And, they are socially, their festivals, their systems is such that they are stuck. So all these points, when you cumulative effect is that it's a poor country and
No money, but to keep up the pride.
Yeah. So
doesn't work.
my last sentence would be that currently peace talks are going on between Taliban and US, and Pakistan is helping, Iran is helping, Russia also. And let's hope that the future is good for them. And there is some permanent solution. And the US had announced that they will take the army back, but they are reconsidering not to vacate suddenly, because there can be further problem. So they have gone back. But the peace talks are going on, and hopefully in the future we should see an improved Afghanistan.
Thank you. Brigadier Hadi, you have shed a very detailed light on the Afghanistan issues and the perspectives of Afghanistan. I hope the people who are watching us, our audience, will understand and trying to get the detailed and extensive knowledge about Afghanistan. Thank you for watching us, and thank you, Brigadier Hadi, for such extensive representation and extensive knowledge. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.